Hey guys, this is TV Siblings Podcast. This is Sid.
This is Swetha.
This is Stephanie.
This is Bam Bam.
And Mark.
And Mylene.
There's some special guests here for our Instant Reaction Podcast for the final episode of Mr. Robot.
Bittersweet, bittersweet.
Very touching.
Why don't we get our reactions from our special guests? Starting with Mylene.
I think it ended, well, on a nice note. I was afraid that I wouldn't like the ending with that perfect life sequence and perfect Elliot, but I liked how it turned out.
I liked how it ended too. I thought he wrapped it up nicely. I was like kind of waiting for everything to wrap up, and I was still a little bit, I don't know, hesitant, I guess, from the last episode, and even halfway through this episode, I was wondering how he was going to tie it all up, and I thought he did a good job, and I don't know, it was pretty interesting how he, again, kind of still flipped the switch on us, you know, kind of with this last reveal, I guess.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty great. Everything makes sense in the end, I guess. Just at least around Elliot, like his story rounded up very nicely and in a bow. And I just read the lyrics to the song Mr. Roboto, and it's pretty much the show was written around that song.
You know, Sid made me listen to that season 1, and I was like, they have to play this song because it fits. Como arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah. It's so perfect.
I think it was like two on the nose that they had to wait for, like, the last
correct.
episode. It's kind of like how
Definitely.
Breaking Bad, remember in the last episode they played Crystal Blue Persuasion?
Yeah.
And that was the only time they played it because it was just like too perfect to play anywhere else.
Two on the nose.
Two on the
So
nose, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I was really curious about how they were going to move from the perfect world into, I don't know, I didn't really know what to expect, but I think with what was done, it was as good as it could ever have been.
Definitely. I think we didn't anticipate this at all. We didn't think that our Elliot was the other one at all. We always thought it was someone else, and...
Well, maybe you.
I didn't hear you say that.
I said it a few times.
That our Elliot was the other one?
I said maybe this wasn't real.
That's a little different.
You have to listen back to the old ones.
No, it was amazing. I really liked it. I really, really liked it. I thought, obviously, I want a little bit more. There are some flashbacks I really, really wish we would have gotten. I'm always going to want more from the show, but I thought it was a really amazing ending. I loved it.
I thought this was confusing as fuck.
Yes.
It's definitely meant
Like,
to be.
I'm very muted because I'm like, I think I like it, but I'm not sure what happened.
Darlene's real.
Darlene's real.
It sounds like everything we saw happened,
Yes.
Yes.
but it didn't.
No,
In
it
a
did.
way.
It did. Everything.
Everything happened. Only the perfect world didn't happen. It was where our Elliot put Preppy Elliot in a world to make him happy. That's the only explanation that I don't think was fully fleshed out, is why exactly our Elliot took control. It makes sense, like he was trying to build a better world for our Elliot, but what was the inciting factor for him to take control and for him to decide, okay, I'm going to stay in control, and for him to forget that he created this other world for our Elliot? How could he forget about our Elliot? Or I guess the preppy, happy Elliot.
Also means that White Rose is full of shit.
Yeah.
Her machine didn't do anything.
She's not full of shit.
Mhm.
Elliot stopped her machine from
She actually
happening.
stopped it.
I mean, like, her whole premise of, like, what she was making out the machine to be was full of shit, because it didn't really create a new world, I guess.
Well, maybe she was just delusional.
Yeah.
I guess in the end, we have no idea what she showed Angela, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have no idea,
And we don't know what the machine was supposed to
which
do.
is pretty irritating.
But
Yeah.
what I think happened is that Elliot actually stopped her machine from happening.
Yeah.
And Mr. Robot, or all of the personalities combined, put Elliot into this other world and made him experience, like, hey, this is what's happening to our actual Elliot, the real Elliot. And they kind of forced this illusion to happen to make him wake up and realize, okay, this isn't
And
my life. I'm not the real Elliot. I'm just a part of Elliot.
And then when we're in the office with Krista, she does explain that this Elliot was created until he was ready, until the real Elliot was ready. She
Yeah.
didn't say exactly for what, maybe just to come back.
Oh, I think like he was like in his mind, or like our Elliot's mind, he was trying to create this perfect world. That way he can bring back the original Elliot, and then he'll be like cool, and he'll be like happy with his life, and
going
whatever.
back to Swetha, your point where how did this mastermind Elliot take over? Maybe he was just born at that time, so he didn't realize that he obviously didn't know that he was a personality. So maybe he just thought that he was the real guy.
Because
But I think he did have some agency in creating this perfect world for the original Elliot.
Yeah.
Because he said, I created a world for him.
yeah.
I don't know. It's
Well-
confusing.
Or
It's like,
maybe
why
he's-
did he forget he did that?
maybe he's referring to himself just in the knowledge that, okay, I realize now that there are all these different personalities, I as in we collectively, or I can't really tell which one is referring to which.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of everything here is just that the confusion, which one is taking over at what part. So
Isn't that part of like the dissociative
Exactly,
personality
yeah.
disorder? Yeah, like
yeah, and with the whole mastermind personality, why wouldn't he just think of himself for this entire
Yeah.
time, being
I
the
thought that-
dominant?
I thought that was fucking cool.
Yeah. He really was.
Showing the preppy, perfect version of Elliot,
And then
dreaming up our Elliot
yeah.
and all these different characters. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I love the way they picturized that. I thought that was so cool.
I want to rewatch the first episode and find out when it went from Peppery Elliot to Hoodie Elliot. Because there had to be a moment where he...
I think it was
literally-
already like
right after
established,
the
right?
party.
I mean, like
no, because
he-
at the very beginning, he's in like his office uniform,
Mhm, I
his
remember.
office shirt. So there's a point in that first episode where he transitions to Hoodie Elliot and it never goes away. And that's probably...
maybe it just like gets stronger and stronger the more he like does these things to like
Yeah.
be like a superhero in Preppy Elliot's mind, like this vigilante hacker. The more he's doing that, it's more he's like, oh, I'm the real Elliot. Like I'm doing this cool stuff. Like this could be you. Kind of thing.
Isn't that one of the first scenes, though, when
Yeah.
he takes down Ron from Ron's coffee shop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's already Hoodie Elliot.
He's
at
already
that
Hoodie
But that
point.
could just be like one instance of the personality coming out, and then maybe it comes back. You know, it's not like as strong as it was. Like
I wonder if his morphine addiction and withdrawals kind
do
of had
anything.
something to do with like blurring the lines.
Right.
enough
Of
for him to
reality.
like force that other Elliot into
And then-
that real world and believing in it. So he
I
could, like,
absolutely
take over.
love that, too. The way that they showed those scenes again.
Yeah.
Saying, no, that's actually this world you created for other Elliot.
Yeah.
That was really, really
Yeah.
cool. I love that.
You know, it's crazy though. I don't think Darlene's gonna like this new Elliot.
Then the real one.
The real
boring.
Elliot. I just feel like, yeah, they're gonna hang out and just be like, all right, well, I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna hang out with Leon.
Well, it was really hurtful. I don't know if you guys remember. She gets really frustrated with our Elliot, and she's like, I want Mr. Robot. Like, where is he right now? So I think you're totally right. I don't know how she's going to be with our Elliot. Although this is the Elliot, like, the preppy Elliot is the Elliot she grew up with.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like she's happy to see that version of him
Yeah.
again.
But that
She's not
actually
violent.
happened.
So that...
Yes, what are you
Dude, I'm questioning everything.
Yeah.
Everything I'm
Wait,
questioning.
So there's that one part where Darlene talked to Vera, and then Mr. Robot and Hoodie Elliot didn't know who she talked to. So was she talking to Preppy Elliot, telling Preppy Elliot about Vera?
See, that makes no sense. Why would he come out for that scene? That makes no
Yeah,
sense.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
like.
Why
I
would
mean-
he? Why would he leave his loop to
But
like
we
talk to
don't.
her?
I mean, we were just assuming that it could have been like Magda, like,
Or
oh, who cares about that guy? Whatever.
Well, he says the fourth person woke up.
Yeah.
Oh, so Elliot did.
He
come.
woke up for Darlene. That's what he said.
And he
Uh.
says Darlene's the key.
That's another scene that I wish we would have gotten is the board's room scene where they all reconcile with each other.
Yeah.
Because I think you guys are bringing out that point where Preppy Elliot doesn't have all the details of what actually
Oh, yeah.
happened. He doesn't know everything that happened. How is he going to be whole at the end of this? He doesn't actually...
Yeah.
He's been sheltered in a way.
Yeah.
He's been allowed to live this fake reality. He's not going to like this life.
Well, maybe in that scene where it cuts to them in the theater and then it shows the scenes play, maybe that was like him getting filled in on like the past time he's been gone.
But I
like-
feel like Preppy Elliott should have been there with all of them, like living through it again.
But maybe they're just in his head.
That was really cool too. I love that detail when he's like, wait a second, who are you talking to right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where
Where they're
Preppy
talking to each
Elliott
other.
is talking to Art Elliott. They're sitting at the dining room table.
And he can hear
And
the
he's
inner
like,
voice
who are you
of
talking
the other
to?
Elliot.
What's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah, that's
Wait,
pretty
they
cool.
both heard it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
Art
pretty
Elliott's like, I gotta go. This isn't happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's what's kind of cool. The fake Elliot, our Elliot, created an idealized world for the Elliot that actually exists to
Yeah.
make him happy.
Yeah.
While he
Although
like
I
helps
think-
to make the actual world a better place for him.
Yes.
I think it's a bit short-sighted though, because who would want to leave this dream reality? Art Elliott murdered the other Elliot to have a chance at it.
Yeah.
He didn't know that though. He didn't know that he was murdering the actual Elliot.
But I'm saying, isn't it a bit short-sighted to
Yes.
put OG Elliot in a dream version of what his life should be like? Who wouldn't want to stay in that world? It's kind of like Inception, right? If you had an amazing, amazing life, why would you leave and come back to your shitty life where you were molested and you're alone and Angela's
he's
dead?
Not, he's,
It all
he's
boils
not
down
alone.
to
Angela's
truth.
dead, but I
Yeah.
mean, he has Darlene, and
That's
that was
true.
really like.
That's why he says, I was wrong, or I am wrong. I don't have everything.
That's
Yes.
true. I'm just saying, like, I'm not sure I agree with Hoodie Elliott in creating this, like, dream world for her.
No, yeah.
That's cool. You want to be a
OG
hater?
Elliot.
That's fine.
I mean, like, but think about what a lot of people do, like with children. How many times have our parents lied to us to protect us?
Yeah.
This is essentially what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
lying
Absolutely.
Yeah.
to protect him from the real world.
Yeah, and that's what every iteration of his personality was doing.
Protecting.
Well, I mean, I don't know about Magda. They called her the persecutor. I don't know how that really helped
Why,
out. As
why
a,
do you think he created her? I was curious about that explanation
Fetish.
that might.
gave.
I mean, that might be part. That might be part of. I don't know, like the psychology of dissociative disorder. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it might be like these are like the types of like whatever personality you seem to always create because I don't know, maybe it feeds into your whatever.
I feel like a lot of these, I'm not versed in the subject at all, but I have this belief that a lot of people with these disorders want or have a desire to place blame on someone, and usually it's themselves.
That's true.
So they have someone, yeah.
That's definitely
Person
true. The way that
themselves.
she explains it.
Yeah, like
She says,
maybe
like,
she-
you kind of wanted a persecutor to place the blame on yourself for why all of this happened in the first place.
Does that mean it's a good finale?
I
Does that
mean,
mean it's a good end for a show that you're trying to decipher what's happening? Or is it good in the other way, like, dude, this was amazing. I've never seen anything like it.
I think it'll take us, a couple of days, maybe another rewatch to like have a real definitive opinion. But I mean, my thought after it was done I thought he wrapped it up like
Yeah.
pretty. I don't think I could have thought of like another way for it to have wrapped up that I would be like, dude, Mr. Robot, like forever, like,
I think it was intended to be more contemplative, more
Correct.
internal, and
Absolutely.
not like, yes, we done it!
Yeah.
Woo!
yeah. But
It was a very satisfying ending, and it makes you. I think this was his whole intention all along, is to say that the clues were always there, and it's so true. It's like, holy shit, this was never Elliot to begin with. And I think the feeling that you're struggling with right now is, I want to know, I want to know the real Elliot more. Like, I want more. I want more of the explanation. I want more,
Yeah.
and that's what I want. Is why did this Elliot become dominant? Why did he take over? What happened in his life to create this? Why was Darlene never enough for him? Right? All these questions are still lingering. And yes, the show could have had like a full other season on it. But if you say, okay, all of those questions are just unanswered, they're in the background, it was a very satisfying ending saying, these were all the reasons, all those weird things that didn't quite make sense in the show. It actually makes perfect sense when now you think about it in retrospect. And I think it was like a really, really satisfying ending.
And another thing I was thinking was like, this whole thing is about his struggle with dissociative identity disorder. I mean, how many people ever tie that up? You don't resolve something like that. So
Definitely.
maybe, it's supposed to mirror that. And you're not supposed to feel like, oh, everything's all wrapped up in a nice bow. You just keep thinking and you keep going with whoever is going to be in control at the moment.
And I'm cool with that, man.
Yeah.
I don't like finales that like kind of feed you what you're supposed to
Right.
think.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how many of you guys watch Sopranos, but
Ten
the
percent.
ending of Sopranos was incredibly ambiguous to the point that pissed off at least 50% of people watched it.
I think that
I
heard
was
about
cool
it.
with that because, like, you know
Yeah.
what?
I'm okay with
You're,
ambiguity.
it's up to you as the viewer to think what's going to
Interpret-
happen.
Yeah.
I
And
think the thing that I struggle with though is the original Elliot has lived in this dream world now for a year. How is he ever going to come to terms with the molestation and everything that happened and how his life really is? That's the thing that I think that our Hoodie Elliot, in trying to protect him, really is
Made a
setting him up for
mistake.
failure in a way, because our Hoodie Elliot has now understood the whole piece of the puzzle, but the original Elliot is pretty far from that if you think about it. He's been sheltered from
I
all this stuff
disagree,
that
though.
happened.
I disagree. I think that Hoodie Elliot did all that for him, and he can now process that for him.
Yeah, so I think, like, especially with, like, the molestation, like, the whole thing with Vera, and then, like, the things that Vera told him about, like, using that pain as power, like, that could be, like, a memory that the new Elliot, can take. Because I think the Elliot knows about the molestation. Our Elliot didn't. That's why that whole episode was so crazy, because, like, he just, like, figured it out, too. But then our Elliot, I think he kind of knew. So then I think, like, you know, he can kind of take from what, I don't know, that our Elliot has gone through this past year and, like, you know, help him build himself back. Obviously with Angela's I think that it's still going to take some time, but I think other things will, I do agree, like, he's going to have some time to get rebuilt, but I don't think it's going to be like,
I guess you think
Well,
about that world he was in where he was super close with his father and that didn't happen. And all of a sudden you rip that away from him. You rip away a loving mother away from him. You rip away Angela from him. It's like, shit, here's your life now. It's like, I don't know. It's just, it seems like it's too much at once. And I totally get what you're saying. It's like, maybe our Elliot can help him through it. And maybe our Elliot can explain, okay, this is how your life's going to be. All
I think
that
that's
stuff.
his job.
Yeah.
His Elliot is his own Mr. Robot to protect him from what he's going through.
Yeah, I don't ever feel like any of those other Elliots are going to go away.
Yeah.
They'll just be there.
Yeah.
Did you catch the ending? Is 2001: Space Odyssey? The ending of that movie where it's like light, and then you see all the images
tunnel?
through,
Yeah.
and then the rebirth or whatever. Isn't that basically what happened?
In a lot of ways, yeah.
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 Enlightenment, I guess.
Yeah. So he kind of realized all that, and then eyes open. That was kind of creepy, but they zoomed into the eye.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
I think it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that, but while he was in the theater in the seats, you can see frames, and then it shifted. Like they were slightly different Elliots with every frame per second or whatever, every flicker. So
There was like
I
a
don't
little bit
know.
of like maybe it was like
each
adjusting
one
in
was
his mind.
showing up, I guess.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
don't
they
know,
were
take
fixing his memories.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know.
And also, it was a perfect world, but I mean, he even said, like, I live in a mundane life where I wish I could be this, like, hero, and then in this real world, he can actually be that. He can actually be those things.
Yeah.
Obviously, he won't have, like, the dad or the Angela, but I mean,
But
still,
he's perfectly capable.
yeah. Maybe now he's just more capable of, like, being a functioning, contributing person to society now than he was before, I guess.
I mean, I get why, but I still struggle with the idea that other Elliot chose to erase Darlene. That, I don't know. I kind of struggle with that.
I think it's because they explained that so many times this last
I
episode.
understand why, but
Their connection's just really strong.
Yeah.
It's like,
I get it.
that world's not going to work if he
I get
remembers
it.
Darlene.
Yeah, I get it.
It has to be that way.
And that's why she's the last person he sees.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that. I don't like it.
And I think,
He's even talking to White Rose in that scene, like right before the nuclear reactor is going to happen.
That does bother me because we will never know
What
what White Rose's shit was about.
Well, you can pause that screenshot from the last episode where it shows one page of what the project was and try and figure it out. That's the only way.
It's a very lost thing. You have to accept that certain things are not going to be explained, and you have to be okay with that.
I mean, he's probably just like a crazy, like, megalomaniac who thought he could just, like, do that. Like,
Yeah.
create this
Mhm.
alternate universe because he had all this power and money and influence. Like, why not think that he could do it, you know?
And you okay with accepting that we will never know what he showed Angela?
I mean, yeah, because I mean, ultimately it just led her to, like, be brainwashed, and then I don't think it's, like, necessary in the bigger picture, especially since it is really all about Elliot's growth and his story, so... I guess one thing I thought it was like, oh, what was the whole thing with, well, like, at the end, then, like, was that just, like...
The blue light?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
just...
Did you notice that
Pulp Fiction to fuck with us?
the forest in the hospital painting looked like the same forest that Warwick was in?
Oh,
Really?
interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
In the last scene?
Yeah.
You remember he wakes up and he sees that
Trees?
portrait,
Yeah.
and it's, like, trees? Oh.
It looked like the same forest that Warwick
I
was
thought
in.
it was more like, just, like, because it was, like,
It looks like it's
Orange-
upside down.
orange,
Oh,
um,
yeah. I don't know.
leaves, so it's, like, fall, like...
Something Sam Esposito said, if you watch the very first episode, you'll be able to figure out that there is a fourth personality.
Yeah, the hoodie one. There has to be a point in the episode where the hoodie guy appears and he never goes away. Because there's points where he doesn't have the hoodie on in the first episode, and you just see all of them. I wonder if you'll see, like, the little Elliot and Magda in the first episode, just in the background. Good, worth a rewatch. Maybe you'll see all 4 personalities there.
It just seems kind of crazy because that means a fake personality that the fake Elliot created was Mr. Robot to
Yeah.
give him a task, which was to create F Society
Yeah.
and the whole hack. But that actually happened. But
Well, wasn't it like, so the preppy Elliot was saying, I created those characters because it's like who I thought. So then, I don't know, maybe Mr. Robot was like, oh, let's do that. And then he created our Elliot to, like, really put it through, I guess.
But Mr. Robot was created when Elliot was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Krista explains that.
yeah.
So it's not just like recently that Mr.
Yeah.
Robot's been around.
But the whole hack and everything, I mean,
That was all.
he took charge of that.
But that was our Elliot.
That was all hoodie Elliot, right?
Yeah.
Wait, okay, you're saying our Elliot, he's saying Hoodie Elliot. Is
That's the
that-
same one, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know this. We don't know this OG Elliot.
The OG Elliot was fully aware of the hack.
Preppy Elliot?
Yeah, Darlene says White Rose is dead. That means he knows about the hack.
She was talking to.
But she was talking to
Hoodie.
Hoodie Elliot personality.
Because he didn't let go at that point yet.
Yeah. When he woke up, he was still, that's why he's like, I can't do this. Like, I'm not him. I'm just a part of him.
I think you need to rewatch.
We need to rewatch
Yeah, I know. I do.
all the episodes.
And then I think Mr. Robot just took point because it was like, he's the protector. He wants to do this. So, all right, then I'll
Let's
help him
do
do
it
it. Let's
right.
do it. Like,
Yeah.
I'll protect him from actual whatever, real
I agree with
fallout
that.
by,
I agree with that. I think that's why Magda blames him a little bit. Like, holy shit, you let this go on way too long. Because Mr. Robot is...
Fake Magda, I mean.
yeah.
Yeah, fake Magda, like personality Magda. Because I think Mr. Robot was almost equally protective of preppy OG Elliot and our hoodie Elliot. He was kind of like, okay, like, let me see how this plays out. And I'm going to protect hoodie Elliot. And I'm going to help him through this kind
Yeah.
of journey. And Magda kind of resented him for it. Like, you let this go on way
Yeah.
too long. And our poor boy, this like Elliot that's been like in this dream world for too long, we may lose him forever. Like, it might not ever work out that
Yeah.
he comes back and like takes over again.
I think in the beginning, Mr. Robot didn't know that was our Elliot. I think he knew, he thought it was the OG Elliot. Because remember, Krista was saying like, oh, it took us a while to figure out there was like a fourth personality. So I think Mr. Robot was like, oh, he wants to do this? Then all right, let's do it. But I think he didn't think that like this was another personality. I think he thought it was just Elliot.
That's interesting.
Well, 2 questions then. Why would Mr. Robot not know? And 2, if he did not know, when did he find out?
Oh, remember, because Krista said like it took him a while to figure out he had a fourth personality. So I don't think it took him a while to know that this wasn't like, maybe like the more rage he had, he maybe that's what put him on to like, oh, maybe this isn't like the actual host anymore. It's like another personality.
I think you're wrong.
You're just
No,
saying
I'm
that,
just
dude.
kidding. That's interesting.
I
Take it
wish
out.
a little bit we would have gotten a little bit more of preppy Elliot.
Or I guess like the real Elliot with like the real circumstances so we can see.
Correct. I would have liked a little bit more closure on that whole situation with him coming to terms with what his life is like now and becoming more whole. I feel like that's the whole thing the season's been heading towards. And it felt like a little bit like it got cut off a little bit early where he realizes everything that happened, but we don't get to see any of that. It's just that ending scene with Darlene being like, oh, Elliot's back.
Yeah.
I think
Which
that
is
was
kinda
very
crazy.
deliberate.
Yeah, correct.
But maybe Preppy Elliot or the host is not entirely preppy. Like, that was just him
Yeah.
in that perfect
Yeah.
world.
With like the perfect,
And so just different aspects of all of his personalities, like, they come together in a sort of way that we won't know because we won't see how he'll walk out of the hospital. But yeah, so it's hard to say. Like, I don't think he's 100% what we saw.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I think to Sid's point, though, we don't really know him enough to have an opinion on him or really be invested in him, unfortunately.
Well, I'm invested in Violent Hoodie Elliot.
yeah. I think everyone.
That's the
is.
guy that that's the only guy I know.
Yeah, the Elliot killing Elliot.
yeah.
Elliot killing Elliot.
Let's get fucking married right now.
it's my marriage day. It's my wedding day.
Let me roll this cardboard box down with a dead body. It'll be alright.
We packed this up. Didn't even put any like towels on the bottom.
Yeah,
You
like,
fucking idiot.
Wrap them in plastic or something. Come on.
He's like, blood on my shirt. Like, on the box. I should have thought of those things.
He didn't
I
even
was
like
too in love,
properly
guys.
tape up the box. I was like, at
Oh,
least tape up the box. I was half expecting him to drop the box and then for
Elliot.
to roll out of it onto the street because he didn't think straight enough to like tape up the box or something.
That was such a weird detail, though. Why would Preppy Elliot have a weird ID in his wallet where it doesn't look anything like him? That's a really strange detail.
Was that
I think-
I thought
They
that
never
was more of
showed
like
me.
that's just your tell that this isn't right.
yeah,
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
for him
yeah.
to be like, all right, Elliot, this is like
Something's
you're not
Yeah.
the real deal.
You
Like,
think that was like planted by Mr. Robot somehow?
it
Like,
could have been, yeah.
Yeah.
oh shit, this isn't gonna happen. You're not gonna really marry Angela today.
It's
Like-
gonna fall apart
Yeah.
sooner or later.
What?
But Elliot was like, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be married. It'll be fine. But it's like, dude, this is so unrealistic.
This is what I
Realize that.
struggle with, though. If our Elliot created all of that, how could he forget that he did that?
Maybe he
Well, I mean,
customized it to...
He tells
you know.
Darlene that like I put him in a safe, and that's Hoodie Elliot telling her that.
What if
Maybe
actual
we-
Elliot made that for himself? And
Yeah,
then
but
Hoodie,
I feel
Hoodie
like
Elliot kept him
We
there.
don't really know who
That's
did what.
possible. Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, like that's always been his dream. But then Hoodie Elliot's just like, yeah, just stay there.
And I guess I just don't quite understand, like, those gaps that we didn't quite get a full explanation on from the show. Like, how did things end up the way they did? Where he doesn't remember that he put Elliot there. And how does he end up where he is at the beginning of the show, where Hoodie Elliot does not remember Darlene? How does that happen?
Well, Hoodie Elliot doesn't remember Darlene because, I mean, he's created by our original Elliot, and then wait, all right, you hold on.
And he just
I
wanted to
think
kiss his
this
sister.
meant to be very, very confusing. We don't know who created what.
Yeah.
It's like chicken or the egg kind of situation.
I think he was created to just come in and be that vigilante hacker, so he didn't have like the full backstory on Elliot.
Well, if you go by timeline, the first person created was Mr. Robot,
Correct.
right? And
Mhm.
sometime down the road, Hoodie Elliot was created.
Yeah.
If I were to guess, probably when he was locked into that server room and got
Yeah.
upset.
Yeah.
That's probably Hoodie
the
Elliot.
rage and
Yeah,
the...
destroyed everything. Is that related to the person who put on the Mr. Robot jacket and put the mask on? I always thought that was Mr. Robot.
I mean, when did that take place? I guess when they see each other and he puts on the mask and like they fuck around, they first fuck around with the idea of society. When is that? Does that happen like shortly after the whole rage server thing?
It does, yeah.
It does.
Okay, so I mean that could already be him there.
Because that Elliot remembers Darlene. He's getting high with her, watching the videos that they grew up on.
That was on the Halloween night.
Yeah, he knows Darlene.
Right. So maybe that's like a blend. Maybe it's like still like a blend of them. I think it took time for Hoodie Elliot to be like the key player and not just
The
like
mastermind.
It makes sense to a certain degree where Hoodie Elliot doesn't have the memories from their childhood.
No.
Yeah.
So that's why he doesn't quite remember Darlene. And Darlene, she talks about it. She leaves. She can't handle her brother having to deal with this abuse. And she wishes she was a better person, but she just can't be there for him. So she, like, leaves. And maybe it's just like enough time for things to reset where he doesn't quite remember her.
Well, I think it makes sense. The first time Hoodie Elliott we see, and maybe it was even created, was the pilot, the very first episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then even Darlene says later in this final scene, she says, when you didn't remember me, I knew you were different. So that's probably when she realized you were not the Elliot I have been seeing or interacting with. And so the entire first season was Hoodie Elliott and the fake Elliot.
Yeah. It could have been like original Elliot had that idea of F Society, and then Mr. Robot's like, okay, let's do that. And then our Elliot was created to be the actual vigilante anarchist. So by the time he was created, it was like the team was already put together by Mr. Robot. So Darlene is just a part of the team and not...
Maybe the
his
lines
sister?
were just really blurry in those beginning stages.
Yeah.
Between the original Elliot and Hoodie Elliot and Mr. Robot. Like, just... Well, we didn't know who was who and what was going on. But I think, yeah, their plan was still being formed, and so they didn't have that defined of roles, I guess.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't as ramped up, so they kind of, like, maybe Darlene couldn't tell at that time.
So the only time in the entire show when we see the actual real Elliot is the hospital scene at the end.
No, the pilot.
It's not even...
We didn't even see him.
He just opens his eyes and
And we
then
see
she says,
Darlene.
hello, Elliot, and then that's it.
So we never see him.
And I still
never see
think
him.
it's very random that he woke up to talk to Darlene about Vera for like a quick conversation, and then he went back to his like dream world.
So maybe that, like, goes to the point where, like, maybe he was, like, in and out of that first season. Like, he was in and out.
Losing control.
Yeah, losing control as the host. But he was still there, but, you know, like, they kept chiming in, like, Mr. Robot and then Hoodie Elliott, that he just, like...
This goes to what you were saying, Mark. I mean, in season 2, there's this point, season 2 or 3, where Mr. Robot and Elliot are glitching. And they're both confused at what's happening.
Yeah.
They're both, like, exchanging locations, and both of them are like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
I wonder if at that point Mr. Robot is not aware that this is not real.
Could be. And then also in season 1 is when he had all the whole drug addiction and whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe that was around the time that it was enough for the lines to be blurred that one of them could take over and kind of push the host out.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked because they actually refer to that drug addiction scene quite a bit in the final episode,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. They mentioned
Saying that was a key moment where he actually remembered.
They basically said that he crossed over to that other world.
And I feel like a lot of fucked up things happen in the real world, his real life, that maybe that even further fragmented those, like, different personalities to, like, be more separate and enable Hoodie Elliot to take control. Or host Elliot to lose control. And be more willing to get into that perfect dream world.
I did absolutely love when our Elliot, he was so frustrated with Mr. Robot, right? In like season 2, he's like, I'm so done with him. But then he was like, I kind of miss him. And I kind of miss all the craziness, you know? He's like, I kind of wanted the hack to happen. Like, as much, he's just always been really, really conflicted, where he goes back and forth, where he thinks the hack is crazy, and he thinks Mr. Robot went too far, and all this stuff, but then he kind of misses it. He misses that anarchy and that craziness. And I think that just goes back to the point of how, like, complicated a person Elliot is with all of his different personalities and all the complexities inside of him.
I guess what I'm struggling with is the fact that, and that's fine, that's the way they want to go. This is not a happy ending in reality. This guy had a fucked up life, man.
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
A super fucked up life where he had to, like, fake everything that happened to him to protect himself.
I think that's the thing that I struggle with too, is they tease a different version of life for Elliot. We see him so happy and we want that so badly for him. And then the show kind of twisted on its head saying, oh, our Elliot actually has to murder this other Elliot to get that.
Yeah,
and no,
crazy.
none of it's real. It's like, oh shit, alright.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know, it kind of teases us all as fans when we see Elliot really happy. We're like, we want that for him. We want this to be his life if that's what he wants, right? And then it's like, nope, that's not real. Like, here's this shitty life back. I don't know.
But I think that's what kind of makes the show so good. It's like, I mean, we don't want that kind of like cookie cutter
That's true.
happy ending, you know, because
That's true.
it's,
Yeah,
it's too
100%.
obvious, you know.
And they talk about that. They're like, you know, Elliot right at the end says that life isn't perfect either. And you're always left wanting something. And you're the best thing in my life here.
But he did, in his brokenness, I guess, like, they did accomplish the hack. They did accomplish, you know, dismantling the Deus group, redistributing that wealth. So they did do that. And I think that Darlene was able to become closer to him because
And
of
reconcile.
the hoodie. Yeah. Because she felt guilty for not being there in the past. So I think those might be a silver lining, if not a happy part of the ending.
Yeah, so just to wrap it up, let's get everyone's, I guess, last thoughts on the end of Mr. Robot. That's it.
2 thumbs up.
I want to say, I don't know, I was trying to say something like more clever with Mr. Robot with 2 thumbs, but I mean, it was awesome. Like, definitely to rewatch
2
the whole thing
personalities.
again. 2 personalities.
Oh man, so it's gonna be
6
weird.
thumbs up. 5. I don't know.
It should be 8.
I don't remember how many Elliots there are. However many Elliots there
I
are.
guess
times
the
2.
good thing for Elliot is he's gonna have all this money from the redistribution.
Yeah.
Does his 6 personalities get 6 splittings of that? I don't know. And also, he's gonna be walking around the street one day and some lady's gonna slap him. It's probably Janice. And he doesn't know why. He totally screwed up.
Who, Janice?
Is it Janice, the season 4 lady who Hoodie Elliot seduced and then...
Olivia.
Oh,
Olivia.
yeah.
I was like, Janice. Why is her name
Janice was
Janice?
the
was
Dark
the-
Army,
yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
Or the taxidermist,
Oh,
right?
yeah, Janice. The hot one.
She's dead.
Yeah. She's super dead. But yeah.
Well, then, I don't know, maybe Olivia watches the news and was like, oh man, he really was like...
Yeah.
I mean, I did some of this, but like...
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'll call him.
You got all this money now.
I still stand by my however many thumbs up. But yeah, I feel as happy as I can be for as fragmented as we're supposed to feel.
Yeah, I love the ending. I thought it was really thoughtful, thought-provoking, a very fitting ending to Mr. Robot. And I selfishly want more. I want more answers. And like you said, I do have a lot of questions remaining after the finale. But I'm actually okay with that. I think it was a really great ending. And I think it just makes sense, thinking about the show in its entirety, that this was this other personality of Elliot all along. And this was an insanely crazy ride if you think of everything they've been through. And it's really interesting to think that the original Elliot actually had quite a boring life. And this is this insane alter ego inside of him. And yeah, it's been a great ride and I loved it.
All I gotta say is, I'm just gonna really miss Elliot Alderson.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna miss I feel like I'm losing a friend. He's a really good dude, even though he doesn't exist at all. But I'm gonna miss him, and
Goodbye, friend.
goodbye, friend.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, friend.
Thanks for listening, guys.
This is Swetha.
This is Sid.
This is Stephanie.
Man.
Mark.
Mylene.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, friends.